my friends, welcome back. It's Nat Walsh and I am doing a card today for PaperRose Studio. So this sentiment is called Sew, S-E-W, lovely. And I will leave a link down to my blog, which has all the links over to PaperRose website and all the little bits and pieces will be linked there. This has lots of little sentiments, lots of little images. There's a couple of different size buttons, there's pin cushions, there's scissors, there's of course a sewing machine, and there's dress form, which is what really stood out to me. So I'm just rubbing my hand all over it, and we're going to stamp it down with premium dye ink. And I have stamped this down twice. It wasn't a bad image the first time because we have rubbed my hand over it and got some of that residue off from manufacturing. But yeah, we just double made sure. So we've got poppy, tangerine, lemon, grass. It's the green. I've labeled it green, but it's grass. And navy and grape. I've also got these PaperRose blending brushes. There's a couple of different ways you can buy these. You can either get them in a pack of 2 or singular. And they also have the little cover, which is really handy because sometimes I do, you know, you go away and rather than having to worry about your brushes marking, you have a little cover, which makes it really easy. So we're going in rainbow. We are doing, I suppose in some ways, reverse rainbow, but I don't think it really matters too much. Sorry, that was a door closing. And we've got, my camera is, the focus is going to come out because we've sped this up. And of course, we're doing sort of, you know, a lot of sponging, a lot of here going back and forth sort of thing. So you bear with me for that. So I suppose in Strictly we're going in reverse order, but it's going to be fine. It's going to be a cute little rainbow. The navy is quite a strong color, so we're just going to go in really softly with that. And then our last color is grape. Now I have the panel that we're going to cut of this is going to be about 5.5 centimeters wide or 6 centimeters wide, I think it was actually, by about 13.5 centimeters long. And I just want to give a nice little framing for our dress form. So I'm just trying to make sure it's got, you know, a nice little coverage so it won't matter. We won't have to worry about, you know, not having some color somewhere. So we're just going back through a second time because it's not really until you go through the second time or even a third time sometimes that you have a much more smoother blend of color. And it looks a little bit splotchy and a bit blotchy. I know I'm a bit low, but I was trying to fit all the colors in as well. There we go. So there's our image. I'm just double checking with some white embossing paper, making sure that it is all dry, which it is, which is brilliant. See, it's a much smoother sort of blend now. I've got this pin cushion. It's sort of a heart. It's really quite cute. We're going to rotate that around and stamp that down quite a few times. Some of this will get hidden, but I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have any weird spaces. So we're just going to stamp that down everywhere. And so it also, if you stamp it underneath the panel, then it also means that if anything, like on the thinner parts, then you'll be able to see that there's an image behind it. You won't have any holes in the background, you know what I mean? So we're just going to trim this down. Now I wanted make sure a little bit of purple, make sure a little bit of red down the bottom. I didn't want to completely take it right to the image, but the left and right is going to be, we're going to trim off some of the image that gives the illusion that the image does continue on. With our dress form, it's going to be a relatively plain and simple colouring, with just a red bow and the white dress form and of course the stand. But the bow, we're going to try and make it special because look at the bow. It's really pretty. It's really drawn well. That's what I want to try and say. The colours that we're using are RV99 for a really deep colour. The RG, there is no RG. R59 for the next one, R46, and going down to an R14, which is quite a light colour. The thing you have to sort of remember a little bit with Copic markers is it's really sort of those middle two colours that you're going to see the most. The highlight colour, of course, you're going to see it, but it's like the middle colours. So if I only had R59, R46 and R14, it would be the R46 that you're going to see the most of. You know, just more of it than R59, let's just say. So I'm trying to give the bow, this particular side has lots of little areas that you can provide a little bit of a shadow and give it a little bit of movement, a little bit of depth. And you can see on the right hand side, you've got where it went. I always find it hard to describe what I'm looking at, but where it went in halfway down on the actual bow, we've just sort of accentuated that, and therefore it's given it a little bit of fullness, a little bit more fullness. That's what we're trying to say. I do like, because I can't point to you and show you what I'm doing, where I'm looking at. So it's, if you're new to this channel, hi, welcome. Thanks for dropping by. Like and subscribe. That would be awesome. It really supports me and my little channel. If you haven't, you know, words are hard sometimes. I'm just saying. With the bow, because it's bent, the base of the end of the ribbon is bent upwards, it's going to be, that's where the highlight's going to be. So that's what we're working on, just try and have a little bit of depth put into it. So really, I mean, the whole image is the shiny thing, but let's be honest, that bow is drawn prettily, very pretty, really amazing. Honestly, I think it's really gorgeous, but that's just me. Hopefully you think the same way. The dress form itself, I'm not a sewer. I'm going to tell the truth, but I looked online. I've seen this type of dress form before, and they're usually an icky, greeny, grey type of thing. So I had a look. Dress forms on Google were sort of white or black, or there were other colours, of course, but they seem to be predominantly white or black. So we went, sweet. I don't have to I don't want to colour this thing green. That was not going to happen. Now I am flirting with a little bit of danger here, because I am colouring the white images after I've coloured the red. But again, if you haven't been here before, then I like to err on the side of danger sometimes. I do silly things because I'm just getting carried away. Now, some of my red did bleed out in this, but it was minuscule. So we're just going to remove that with not a brolette. I touched the grey, the cool silver with the red. That's all. That's all there is to it. So don't do what I do. Colour the white first. But when I coloured the bow, I didn't actually know what colour I was going to do the dress form. But do white things first, because it just makes your life easier. Now the knobbly bit at the top, some that I've seen do have a little wooden rounded knobbly thing. I don't know what it's going to be called, but it's not like a handle. It's not a handle. It doesn't have a handle, but you know what I mean. So we've got E57, E55, and we're going to go down to E53. I'm going to put a little bit of texture into the wood, especially down the bottom, on the very base of that. We're using the very, very fine tip. I am slowly changing over some of my sketch tips. I'm keeping the brush tip, but I'm getting rid of a lot of my chisel tips because I am getting older. I honestly think my glasses need to be a little bit stronger than they are new, but they need to be a little bit stronger than they are. But you know, things aren't just what they used to be. So we're going to we're going to do a little, just squiggles, very light hand, nothing too heavy, nothing too strong. Just doing some little squiggles here and there, just to provide a little bit of texture. Now I'll do that one time and then that is it. But I will go over for the shadows more than once. So that's going to drop that in the background that little bit more. So again, we've got some finer tips. I'm getting older, not old yet, but older. Yeah, so that's just the way it is, isn't it? So I've cut that all out with my scissors. There is matching coordinated dies. I don't have that. I do prefer not the white background, but that's me. The dies, I've got other tricks for dies. I'll have to do a card on that. I've done a card once before, but we'll have to do another card. So I've got some PaperRose. This is Australian card bases, and they're brights. Now in the pack of brights, we've also got this black, so we're going to use that. And I am going to have a little bit of luck here. So I've trimmed that all down, and I've just given myself a tiny little slither. What was I saying? I got interrupted by a child calling out my name because, you know, they do know I'm recording, but bless their soul. So I have to trim off a little piece down the bottom, and as luck would have it, it fitted my sentiment perfectly. Now I am going to stamp this. I'm going to set it all up, but I'm going to actually stamp off camera because I needed to get my noggin right in over the top. And all you're going to be able to see is my head. So forgive me, but I'm going to do that. So I've dropped it down onto the surface. And what that will help me do is help to keep it straight. So when it drops down, it just sort of, it's decent quality of polymer that it just sort of sits down. It falls down like straight. So there's a trick for you. So we've got some white embossing powder. I'm just tapping this all off. It's a tiny little slither of cardstock. So it is a bit of a pain in the tush to, get all the little white bits off and to emboss it and everything else, but it works out really well. I've got this PaperRose glue. Again, this will all be linked. There'll be a link down below in the description box over to my blog, which will have all the links over to PaperRose website. I'm going to trim this in half because I didn't like how it was going to, just how it was sitting. It wasn't going to fit, and I didn't particularly want to hide too much of my dress form. So we've trimmed that down in half. The bottom part I'm going to glue just with the PaperRose glue. And just position that down. Now the part on the mend, is going to be flat, but we're going to put a little bit of foam underneath mend because it is hanging off the edge of our card base, and we've got 2 layers of cardstock there. So we're just, and one of those, and of course the dress form is raised up then again as well. Now I did forget to, I knew I hadn't removed the backing off the foam, but I wanted to let the glue sit for a little bit longer. So these are some crystal mix. Last time I checked, they weren't available, but they should hopefully be coming in very soon. Little crystal drops. And these have a varying different sizes. So we're just going to scatter those around. So the red really sort of just stands out. And I just love how this card turned out. So we'll put those down, and that's going to be pretty much my card. So I hope you're well. I hope you check out PaperRose website. And we forgot the ground. I knew there was something else I was forgetting. So I'm doing those down. We start off with N3 and N1. But I'm going to go back in with some N5, and now we do have a little bit of embossing, which they say not to go over embossing and everything else. So we're just rubbing that off on the side, and it's just going to ground it that tiny little bit. So that's my card. I hope you're well. I hope you check out the PaperRose website, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye-bye.